Welcome, everyone. We are super excited. The Basque team is super excited to have another installment of our Working Through It Wednesdays to share with you all as well as our community. One of the additions that we are focusing on is that at the end of every month, we're going to wrap up with our wrapping up the month Wellness Wednesdays. We are going to be utilizing the incredible expertise that we have on our team as well as our community partners to achieve this goal and share this skills-based session with you. Today, again, I'm incredibly thrilled to present to you all our Associate Program Manager for the Basque team, which is the Behavioral Alliance of South Carolina, out of the School Behavioral Health Team for the University of South Carolina's Department of Psychology, Erin Scherder. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Erin, and she's going to let y'all know what we're focusing on today. And we're going to hopefully have a dynamic conversation afterwards. So welcome. Happy to see you, Erin.
Thank you, Taylor. I'm so happy to be here and be able to share this very important topic about mental wellness. Thank you for the introduction and for this platform to share on, because as we know, mental wellness is always important, but it's really, really, really important now. We're going to wrap up every month at the end of the month with a wellness topic. So wrap up Wellness Wednesdays and share a little bit on some strategies that work for us as well as other people, as well as our teams and our schools specifically, and things that we can do with our families at home or anywhere at any time. So we're going to get started thinking about mental wellness as staying safe mentally and physically. Physical safety has become a hot topic at the moment, but also our mental safety is very important during this time. What are some strategies we can do to support ourselves and our own mental wellness? First of all, I have to put a plug in for mindfulness. Any mindfulness exercise that we can do really works because it's helping to model our thoughts in an appropriate way. And when we think of mindfulness, lots of times people think first of meditation. And meditation doesn't work for everyone. It is not always meditation. It can be many different mindfulness exercises. For example, I'm a counter. So I prefer to count things. I'll count my breath, or I'll count things around me, or I'll count the exercise that we did last time, which was the 5-3-1 exercise, noticing 5 things that you see in your physical environment, 3 things that you feel, and maybe 1 thing that you hear or smell, to bring us back to the physical moment. Because with mindfulness, all we're really trying to do is be able to watch our thoughts rather than become our thoughts. And that is a difficult task to do right now. But the more we practice, the better we get at it. The more we can incorporate mindfulness strategies in our daily lives. Another example is thinking of ways to encourage mindfulness on habits that we're already doing. So maybe we start by every time we wash our hands, we're focusing on something that we're thankful for. Or maybe every time you start your car, you take 3 deep breaths and count them. Whatever it may be to bring us back to the present moment. That's mindfulness. So that's a plug for our last time that we met. We did a mindfulness exercise. We did a couple breathing exercises as well. And they're on our YouTube channel, but also anytime that you want to look up the Calm app or Headspace or guided meditations, there's a plethora of information out there. And I love this quote, so I had to share it. If you have fear of pain or suffering, you should examine whether there's anything you can do about it. If you can, there is no need to worry about it. If you cannot do anything, then there is also no need to worry about it. From His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And thinking of this, an easy exercise is focusing on what is within our circle of control. If you have multiple worries, it helps to write them down, and writing down what we're really worried about, what is causing stress or anxiety in us right now, and then literally drawing a circle around what we can control. Because the worries sometimes we can and sometimes we can't control them, but thinking instead, focusing on the circle, what's within it. I spoke with a parent last week who was worried about their adult children who were helping with different healthcare things in New York, and they were so worried. But when they wrote down their worries, their children weren't within their circle. There was nothing they could control about that situation. And so they had to shift the focus to focusing on the circle of control. It's exactly what this quote is talking about. And as we talk about self-care, let's first start by saying it's perfectly okay if during this time that we didn't do all the things that we wanted to do. We weren't gourmet cooks. We didn't work out constantly. Our bodies may have changed. Maybe you just want to watch Netflix and chill. The thing is, it's okay if we've done this, and don't beat yourself up if this has happened to you. It's okay. We have to speak kindly to ourselves. We have to reframe the little voice inside our heads that's saying, oh, I can't believe I did this. I was supposed to do this. I'll do it tomorrow, whatever that may be. If you're Netflix and chilling right now, that's okay, because you can reframe it to think, I'm resting, I'm building up my immune system, I'm getting my 8 hours of sleep every night because I'm fighting the virus, whatever it may be. I'm not cooking gourmet meals, and that's okay, but I am sustaining. And when I do eat, I'm putting fuel in my body to continue going right now. And maybe you're not working out every day, but you're getting the right amount of rest. So finding ways to build in the self-compassion or kindness to ourselves, even if we're not doing all the things we thought we were going to do at the beginning of this. And I have to share this from Brene Brown, these thoughts on comparative suffering. She has a wonderful podcast that has really changed the way that I think, and I want to be able to share it with you. She says, Brene Brown says, that we have reached weary. We've passed the adrenaline rush that's typical in a crisis, and it's time for us to establish a new normal. But we're all weary. We're all very, very, very tired. And that's the word that I use to describe where I am right now. Also, a quick note, just labeling or defining our emotions is one of the first ways that we can begin to deal with them, and it actually decreases their power. So my word is weary. Whatever your word may be, just thinking to yourself, this is my word, this is what it is, and this is all it is moving forward. So, thinking of ways to return to our normal after this crisis, even though we're weary, we're exhausted, whatever your word may be. Someone used today spiraling. When I spoke with them, I feel like I'm spiraling. So, how are we going to return to normal when we are feeling all of these emotions, when we are spiraling, when we can't establish an equilibrium? Here are some things that work for most. Decreasing your news intake. Maybe you've already done this, but if you haven't, thinking of ways to decrease the news intake, the negative feedback loop that we get into, listening to the news over and over and over again and feeding into it, isn't changing the way that things are. It's appropriate to be informed, of course, but stopping it at that. Maybe 5 to 10 minutes a day, and then moving on and finding a reliable source to get your news from. Minding the gap. There's going to be a gap, 100%. We can't transition to this new way of living overnight without there being gaps. Emotionally, physically, psychologically, whatever they may be, there are going to be gaps. Be aware of them, expect them, and try to make peace as much as we can. And then determining ways to return to normal, things that work for everyone, getting some sleep. Even if it's a lot of sleep, that's okay. Resting, allowing the body, mind to rest. Moving your body after you've gotten a good nap in or a good night's sleep, finding ways to move the physical body. If it's going for a walk, standing up, touching your toes, maybe it's a yoga class, maybe it's running, but it doesn't have to be that. It can just be moving the body a little bit and stretching. That's a great way to return our homeostasis within our physical body. And then eating well. Obviously, we're not going to eat well every single time we stop to eat, especially if you're like me and many others, and all I want to do right now is eat sweets. But thinking, if I have depleted my energy to a point where I am feeling physically and emotionally exhausted, getting one good healthy meal in, one strong, full meal to build ourselves back up, that's fuel for the body. So just one good meal can bring us back to normal. And the most important thing is when we think about our emotional well-being, returning to normal, as Brene Brown says, we've reached weary, but we've also reached a point where we've begun to compare our feelings with each other. And when we compare, we say, well, at least I have this, or at least my family's safe, or I shouldn't complain because I don't have to be a frontlines healthcare worker, or I shouldn't feel sad because at least I have my job and my friend lost their job. And that comparative feeling, even though it comes from a good place, it makes us rank our emotions, and then we begin to suppress our emotions or our feelings. We all know what happens when you suppress emotions or feelings. They come back tenfold, they get worse, or they come back in a different way. We begin to shame ourselves when we do feel sad or we do feel upset. I can't feel this way because I have my job, so I can't be sad. I can't feel emotionally drained because my children are safe and happy. But yes, you still can. You still can feel that way because you need to. If you don't, we shame ourselves, and then that leads us to not feeling our own emotions and then not being able to show empathy for others. The question is, you not feeling sad or uncomfortable and whatever it may be, does that change the fact that the frontlines healthcare worker still has to go to work every day? You suppressing your emotions, does that change the fact that your friend lost their job? All it does is force our emotions to become shamed within us, and then we lack empathy for our friends and our family when we actually need it. And perspective really, really helps. Changing our perspective and understanding that even though our world has changed and our worldview has shifted, and our world may be a little tiny room that we're working from at home, our perspectives have shifted to a smaller worldview. We went into the survival mode and said, I need this, I need this, I need that. And our perspective shifted to my family is safe, my children are safe, or whatever it may be, or we're going to get through this. And our worldview got a lot smaller. And when that happens, the problems get a lot bigger. The little problems that weren't that big before feel much bigger because our perspective has changed. And knowing that that's going to happen with ourselves and with other people, allowing others to feel that emotion, allowing others to understand that maybe their perspective has changed, and you may not see their problem as a big problem, but you're still there to listen and let them feel that emotion. We can model feeling. We can show others, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's happening within me, this is how I'm processing it. And it gives others the opportunity to say, well, that person is feeling their feelings. That person is processing what's happening to them. Maybe I should too. The more we suppress our own emotions, the more we suppress other people's emotions as well. And lastly, a touch on perspective. Positivity breeds positivity. Even if we're faking it till we make it and we're trying to be positive as much as we can, the more you do it, the more it's going to lead into other people being able to do it. The more we practice it, the more it'll come naturally. Focusing on positivity, gratitude, ways to begin that positive feedback loop shifts perspective very quickly. Some quick strategies for self-care. We talked last time about self-compassion, speaking kindly to ourselves, even if we can't, thinking of a friend or a family member that would say something nice to us and then beginning to say that to ourselves. Expressing gratitude for someone else builds self-compassion, just saying thank you to anyone. Doing something for the greater good, whatever that may be, whether it's donating something, calling that one person that you've been putting off calling because you know they're going to talk forever, but giving them a second to release what's happening with them through your ear. And then clear is kind, unclear is unkind. This is another Brene Brown thought. Being clear with my expectations and my boundaries is actually very kind, because if I'm not, and I don't communicate that with you, and you overstep something and then I snap and I'm upset, that's not your fault. That's my fault for not communicating my gap, communicating that this is how I'm feeling, this is what's happening, and this is what I need. It's much kinder to say, I cannot be on another Zoom call today, or we're not going to do any more of this schoolwork for the rest of the day. Tomorrow we'll begin again. And not show up than it is to show up to that Zoom call or begin speaking with a teacher or an educator or a parent bad place and a bad mindset. It's much kinder to just cancel and reschedule. Thinking also that there are different domains of self-care like we talked about last time. Physical, psychological, spiritual, personal, professional, and emotional. What are those? Maybe we've been great at the psychological one, but the other areas are suffering. And we need to just look back at it and think, what can I do for myself emotionally? How can I do some things professionally for myself? Maybe I do need to turn the emails off after a certain time or put my phone on do not disturb. Or maybe spiritually, I need to practice some meditation or walk in nature or prayer, something that I haven't done in a long time. But knowing that there are other domains to begin working on. And then we'll end today talking about ways for leaders to promote self-care within their buildings. As leaders, we have the opportunity to build this kind of staff culture and wellness for as we move back into this new normal. First way to do it is model it. Modeling what works for me, how I'm processing my emotions, being clear and stating your own boundaries and expectations. And Taylor and I will talk a little bit about how she's done this as well, leading our team. Communicating your own gap. It's okay to be vulnerable. We should be at this time. And sharing that with other people allows them to feel their own emotions and to communicate theirs as well. Allowing others to feel. Modeling active listening, head nodding, eye contact. That's a tough one when we're on a webinar, but we can do lots of nonverbals. We figured out there's different thumbs up and the jazz hands and things that can be done to show that we're listening and we're here for you. Asking questions that open up the conversation and continue it, and providing descriptive feedback. So as a leader, I hear what you're saying. This is what I'm understanding. Is this correct? Descriptive feedback. This is what it sounds like you are feeling right now. It doesn't have to be any type of therapy. It's just summarizing what you're hearing. A note on authentic listening. It's one of the most important ways to show respect for others as leaders in the building. When we really listen, we have a chance to enter into a deeper form of communication to allow others to process their emotions and heal. Listening strategies. Committing to listen and pause before you speak and ask questions. This is a tough one. Many times we don't have time. We want to immediately shoot back what we're feeling. Taking a deep breath before we speak and immediately respond, and understanding that others' perspectives have changed. And thinking before you speak, will my comment open up or close down this conversation? I want it to stay open. I want you to be able to continue speaking to me. I'm here for you. What can I say that's going to continue that and let you know that you're being heard? And then some norms for collaboration that always work, whether in this time or any other time. Being able to pause, paraphrasing what you're hearing someone say, that descriptive feedback, posing questions that open up the conversation, putting all the ideas on the table. I'm hearing this, this, and this. Let's all put it all out there and talk about it. Providing data, that always helps, always. Even if it's just anecdotal data. You mentioned 10 times during this conversation that you're feeling this way. Paying attention to ourselves as well as other people, paying attention to the nonverbals and listening, and then always presuming positive intent. We're all doing our best right now, even if we're stressed and struggling at home or in different ways at work than we've ever felt before. Presuming that someone means what they're saying in a positive way means that they're trying. It's always the best way to get started. And then some steps for offering commutative feedback, clarifying questions or statements to get the conversation started, naming the topic, this is what we're talking about, can continue the conversation, valuing statements or questions, expressing value for that person. Even if it's at this time they're not feeling like they're valued, telling them that they are can change the conversation. And then questions, engage thinking, request a response, different ways to get that communicative feedback. So, leadership modeling. Allow others to feel. Remember that perspective helps and positivity breeds positivity. If you can start at the top as a leader with positivity, it'll flow down through your team eventually, and we'll all be on the same page moving forward with this positive intent. These are a few more things that I shared last time that work for most, but as always, eating well, exercise, getting enough sleep, those are the best. Gratitude journaling or gratitude expression in any way that you can. We did the breathing exercise or belly breathing last time together, but it's just diaphragmatic breathing. Inhale, the belly goes out. Exhale, the belly goes down. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system and prepares the body for rest and relaxation, rather than the other way that causes anxiety when we breathe in and our belly pulls in. That's an anxious response. There's different apps out there, things that work, and mindfulness exercises, as always, those help so much. And it's most important to practice those when we're in a positive headspace so that it'll flow over into the rest of our lives when we're stressed. So those are the things for me. There's a fun mindfulness exercise, alternate nostril breathing. And Taylor, I'd love for you to come back on and we can do this one together if you don't mind to share your video, and then we'll talk a little bit together.
Happily. All right. Teaching you mindfulness exercise. I'm
Okay. Wonderful. So this is a fun one. What we're going to do is we're going to cover the right side of our nose with our finger, and then inhale through the left nostril, exhale through the left nostril, and then cross over, close the left nostril. Inhale through the right, exhale through the right, and then cross back over. Inhale, exhale. One more time, cross over. Inhale and exhale. And you can release your finger. So that's alternate nostril breathing. It's supposed to balance the brain, but really all it does is help us focus on our own breath and gives us a moment to feel the inhale and the exhale from each side. And it does create a sense of balancing.
I love it. And for those of us that may struggle with some allergies, we'll have to do that after we take our allergy medication. But that definitely is super calming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So now, Taylor, I'd love to just hear a little bit about things that you're doing within the team to help support mindfulness exercises or active listening or whatever you're doing as a leader for your own self-care and for sharing it with others. And
Well,
I'll stop sharing my screen to take this big nose off.
okay. So, I mean, Erin, I think that one of the beautiful things about our BASC team, I know you can speak to that, is that we're really very much about teamwork makes the dream work. And I'm so incredibly grateful for every single member of the BASC team. I'm very much grateful to have you as a member of our team and to have that positivity that just kind of flows through you, flow into everyone else. I think during this time, the most valuable piece that I've been able to either offer to the team and offer to myself is a degree of transparency. Just saying, you know, I know that we all can feel underwater and we have this large sense of wanting to be incredibly productive during this time, but we can only do the best that we can do with the time that we're allotted. So validating the fact that, you know, just as you're struggling, I'm struggling, we all really need each other. And making sure to say thank you. I am big on positive affirmations for self and other. I love to be a cheerleader. And so I feel, I guess that kind of comes from just cheering so long in high school and kind of having that permanent mindset of wanting to just say, thank you for being you, and thank you for offering your time and your dedication to our projects and everything that's happening outside the world. And then also saying, please go out and do things for yourself, and make sure that you're spending time with your family, that you're taking the appropriate, you know, physically distanced vacations, but that you're staying connected. And, you know, I think that those are the things that are really key. And then of course, being, you know, when the going, I think that those are the things that our team has done pretty well. And I hope that that's both with my leadership and the leadership of Dr. Wiest as well. What about you, Erin?
I would completely agree that being able to see from the top down as a leader and how you lead the team saying, this is my gap, this is what I'm feeling, this is my transparency. I want you to be able to take care of yourself. You make that a culture of the team to say, everyone, we're in this together, and I value you, and I want you to value yourself and practice your own self-care. So that's definitely something that's felt and understood. For me, though, personally, my self-care is yoga. It's something that helps me to breathe and move my body and rest at the same time. So I get all those things in there together. Um, I would say that meditation is something that's gone to the wayside. I'd like for it to come back, but maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm trying to speak kindly to myself about that right now.
Very nice. I know for me, I think my self-care has been an incredible amount of humor. I think our team does that very well. We are both extremely academic, but also beautifully irreverent, which I think is a happy balance. I had to shift. I was exercising really heavily, and that was my major self-care. And just like you, that was something that shifted due to some changes with my knees, and so I decided that I would up my game with connectedness to my nieces and my family and my friends, and making sure to be able to talk and to laugh as much as possible. So laughter is a beautiful medicine. I also wanted to say how much I appreciated the Brene Brown quotes and Jim Knight. I think that's another piece of self-care, is connecting yourself with these really incredibly inspirational individuals that align with this this uplifting and humanistic perspective that is critical to our forward momentum during COVID, how we're going to transition afterwards, as well as uplifting our own spirit. So I really appreciated that you brought some of my favorite humans, and I do have many, but particularly Brene and Jim Knight are very much at the top of my list. So rock star status as per usual. I wanted to see if you had any closing remarks before I closed us out.
No, I think that that was it. Thank you so much for giving us this platform to share. And I hope that people are able to use these resources and figure out what works for themselves for self care.
Absolutely. So to our entire Southeastern School Behavioral Health community, from the Basque team here, we wanted to say thank you again for engaging in our Working Through It Wednesday with Erin Scherder. We wanted to let you all know that any links or topics that we discussed today will be sure to list below here on our Facebook page. You can find a copy of this video on our YouTube page. A link will also be included below. I also wanted to make sure that everyone knew that we have an incredible amount of virtual resources, and was hoping that you all would register for this month's Basque 1-hour webinar at www.schoolbehavioralhealth.org/Basque. We have Dr. John Terry speaking about effective mental health services for military families and community members, which is most certainly an incredibly important population to our hearts, and to the South Carolina community, as well as our nation at large. So that will be held this Thursday, 4 p.m., the 28th. So we hope to see y'all register for that. We hope to see y'all next Working Through It Wednesday. And also check out our Basking in the Spotlight. If you all have any nominations, we will make those forms available to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us or connect with us on Facebook. Thank you so much. Y'all have an absolutely fabulous, fabulous day. Bye now.